also strong. The Rumble is very much a, okay, well, I don't want you to have the best and easiest transitionable champion on blue side, B1. So that's fair. I think you take the Ezreal here now as KT Rolster and try to build a different draft around it. But the Lee Sin, now this is the other thing we were talking about, right? Like, you can empower Doran. This is the first time in all 3 games this has been left open for him to play it.
And they will first pick it. They invite Leo, go ahead, take the Ezreal, sure. And if he doesn't, then Noah maybe just jumps onto that once again. We already know that they're very comfortable on that, plus they get the Lee Sin. Keen does have a smile on his face, though, so let's see what Afreeca have up their sleeve. They seem pretty happy to take the set. That's going to make me happy.
Yeah, it's going to make me happy, too.
If they do go for it.
I think they will. Saving some time here. This draft is actually one of our more technical and more complex drafts of the series we've had here in summer, where we're seeing teams actually use the last seconds of the clock to buy time to think about what they want to do next, because you have to think about all the possibilities. If you don't take the Ezreal here, then you give it over to KT, but at the same time, Leo is so anti-Ezreal that, you know, even when he and Prince were sharing time on Sandbox, like, Prince would be subbed in on the Ezreal days where they wanted to play the Ezreal instead of him, so they'll take the Varus instead. And that's not a shocker. In fact, Leo's only played the Ezreal once so far this season. He's played almost only Varus.
I think you mentioned this in game number 1 of our first series. If you take the Varus without the Kench, then you can respond on blue 2 and 3 with Senna Kench. You deny the Kench, you get a really strong bottom lane for yourself. And KT, you can tell they're thinking about it.
I think it's a really strong counter here. You could, I mean, you can play the Thresh with the Varus, but it doesn't feel like it has the same amount of power. It doesn't have the same amount of oomph in lane either, because Varus is so squishy that you'd rather have like the tongue lashes and the escape power more often than like a Lantern.
Although
this is concerning. I'm not a huge fan of this.
Blank is a huge fan of Diana.
He certainly is.
He's looking for his 3rd game of Diana. And he did get player of the game in game number 1.
The follow-up for this is going to be so difficult to pull off, though, with the Senna. It's not like an Ezreal who can really easily collapse in Arcane Shift forward and hit those Qs and hit those auto attacks and explode after a Moonfall. It's a little bit slower paced. You also don't have any burst with the Lee Sin. I mean, his E is going to give you a little bit of extra damage in that moment, but not as big of a fan. The Udyr pick here, I think, is just to make sure that Afreeca don't get zoned out of the jungle in the second ban phase. Now neither team is going to get the Kench. It just doesn't seem like that's making it. Not making it in.
Let's see. I mean, we haven't really seen much priority on that pick at all between these 2 teams, so maybe they just don't find it as strong as other teams. I mean,
yeah,
we've seen Hart play 3 games of Kench and he's 3-0. You know, it's just kind of strange that we haven't seen it out of him.
Not to mention Lehens has played it, you know, on multiple occasions.
True. Yeah.
I wonder if this will be one of the first times we see, because this happened a lot in Challengers last season, something like a Seraphine Senna, where you have an Enchanter support with the you know, Feasting Senna or Fasting Senna, and you have a lot of really strong engage potential. Because like, think about Seraphine plus Diana plus Lee Sin. That sounds like a really terrifying thing to deal with. It's not popular, right? And you have to be really careful running something like that into a lethality Varus, because you will just get popped if you make any positional mistakes, or you do get caught if there's a roam down from Dread on the Udyr. But something to think about for sure.
The Hens is angry. That was, I suppose, pumped up Alistair. Was the drawing.
Well, we'll see another support ban here. They have to decide between the Kench. They take the Sylas instead, which does kind of scream potentially a Gnar pick here on the top side of the map. Jace banned. Okay.
And, yeah, just nobody wants Tom Kent. I swear, yesterday we were like, oh, such an obvious Tom Kent spot, and they just like, boom, lock it in.
Well,
whereas today it's like, both of these teams, it's like they're dancing around the issue. We just keep talking about it. And Afreeca,
finally, maybe, possibly,
they may have finally found the Tom Kent button to welcome Mr. Kent into the game.
I really want to know what Harp is playing this game. I mean, you cannot just play this fragile Senna without some sort of really stable support in the bottom side of the map. Like, Leona has been historically picked a lot with Kench, but it doesn't feel like it has great synergy with the Senna, right? It's not an ideal pick.
Is it Braum again?
I mean, I'm not super confident.
I feel like it works a little bit better into this comp, especially with the Varus.
Varus, yeah. I could see that.
if you wanted to just go straight passivity, just have him farm down there. The Braum isn't the best farmer, but, you know, thinking about a Galio.
The Galio here is pretty interesting. I mean,
okay.
Okay, so who's support?
Is it Nocturne?
I don't think so. I think it might be Lee Sin. I mean, this is actually kind of crazy. We're breaking the rules. This is not allowed.
Yeah, I saw Harp's face, and there was obviously a lot of thought going into it. And it was the last-second swap to Nocturne.
I mean, the fear can work in the lane. You're going to be able to, with his passive, with Nocturne's passive, if he is going to be the support, push lanes super hard. And you're always going to have Cryo, but you're kind of squishy down there. It's also possible to be Diana.
It's Lee Sin Senna in the bottom lane, I guess.
Okay.
And Noah's the one playing Lee Sin, so it's kind of just going to be, you know, the support Senna and Lee Sin's farming.
Yeah, it's not that crazy to see.
Yeah.
But it's Harp. Like, this is a new test for Harp, right? He's now being put on a DPS role. He's had great performances on the Alistar, right? We've seen him on the Kench. He's played Galio already once this season. Like, Alistar's, he hasn't played yet in LCK, but that was one of his more famous picks and challengers. So this is definitely a wide, you know, net that KT are really trying to toss. And when you see something like this in draft in a MOBA, no matter what game it is, it's often kind of telling of, uh-oh, we kind of messed this one up. Like, we didn't quite get what we wanted, but we're going to try to flex this. And of course, if you win in the interview, you say, oh yeah, this is something we do in scrims, it's very strong, and you don't know. But actually, when you lose, like, nobody trusts you, and I don't trust this comp. I've never seen this before. Nobody's ever really seen this run like this before. And it's going to be tough to pull off. You have a lot of threat down there, and you can maybe get some kill pressure on the bottom side of the map. You're going to get prio, but the trade-off is just, you know, we don't know how well these players have prepared this, and I have to give the edge to Afreeca because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you coming to this one. KT, they're pulling out all the stops for game number 3, and apparently it's Noah's Lee Sin. That is the answer. After losing game number 2, come out here with Lee Sin Senna.
We've taken the flexes a little bit too far, I think, guys.
Have we though?
I mean,
are we transcending into the next tier of League of Legends?
Well, Riot will fix that if that happens. Don't worry. Don't you worry. There will be a big patch, I'm sure.
Riot heard me say that. They're like, no. Shut that down right now.
Don't say lane swaps on the broadcast. Oh no. But no. In all seriousness, we've been joking about how Nocturne, Lee Sin, right, Rumble and Set have been so flexible in so many different roles. But, and we joked actually that like Lee Sin could be played support, but we'll probably never see that. But it's actually happened now, and it almost feels comical. But these players, and here I would not have chosen this champion if they don't think it's actually viable. But we still don't have the answer to how well Noah is prepared to play this champion with the Senna bottom.
Yeah, it's really interesting too. I mean, it's not even like fasting Senna with your AD carry player playing the Senna. I mean, Noah has a win on Senna. He could have played that, and maybe Harp goes on the Lee Sin, but it kind of speaks to, you know, they have more confidence in Noah's Lee Sin rather than the Harp's Lee Sin, as the hot will be taken here first by Doran. Another reason why you save your skill up until you're 100% sure.
I feel like in summer we've been kind of like harping on, no pun intended, the
oh no,
the weight on the holding your or locking in your first ability, but just trying to teach some people out there, you know.
Yeah.
People still just lock it in the fountain and then, you know, alt tab as they walk to lane. Yeah. Every game.
League of Legends is a very dynamic game. You never really know what scenario you're going to be in.
Yeah, look at these traps.
Yeah, exactly. 99% of the time, you can just take what is your, you know, on paper best skill. But that one time where bot Lee Sin, it's been almost 3,000 days. SKTT1 Piglet lost versus MVP Ozone Imp in
May of 2013.
But that That's over 8 years ago.
Well, I want to see when it was the last support Lee Sin, because even though this is being played by the bottom player, it's kind of technically support,
Is
right?
it?
I mean, I guess not, because he's not building a support item, he's not being played by the support player, but
we're
it will
redefining the role.
I guess so. Like, this is something different. We'll call this role Bot Lee Sin.
Awesome dude Lee Sin. The awesome dude's return.
Yeah.
Except it's an AD carry that's the support. Blank is, he's able to secure that, and it's the flash will come in and get a response flash out of Blank.
It was Dread's flash that comes first. You know, Keen's not running flash since he's playing the Gwen top here, but losing flash actually and not finding success here, it feels way more impactful actually for Dove than anyone else in this game that doesn't have to deal with the flash bear slap. Now, it is a Doran shield start here for Noah.
Yeah.
Because he's up against Varus in the bottom lane. That's what you want to have. Not that I'm trying to say that's standard or anything, but that's what you would want to build if you were to ever play this, which I don't suggest.
Okay, priority on the bottom side goes to Afreeca. The exhaust onto Noah immediately denies the Lee Sin. We're having a 2v2 in the river as Blank is getting incredibly low. No smite as he was about 2 seconds away from that smite. Dread is going to go down as the Lee Sin actually is getting a lot of value here early on in the game. Able to take him out, but immediately pulled in by Fly. It's just going to shut down any idea of the Lee Sin being good here as the double kill will go the way of Leo, who's going to go back and get a massive Dirk.
Leo gets he's going to get the Dirk because he gets 2 kills here and an assist. Gets the tier first, actually. I think he's waiting for the Dirk right now on the edge of the fountain, you could see. But he has so much extra gold that, I mean, I don't want to say this lane is over, but it pretty much will be, right? Like, there's the Dirk. He waits for it. He's going to come in now, and, like, that's actually a big power spike in lane for Varus in particular. Most people don't get, like, a huge spike off of a building item, like a, you know, ingredient item, if you will, to finish an item.
Yeah.
And he does, especially into, you know, Elisa and Senna. And this fight is very, very frantic, right? Dove decides to come in. He knows there's no flash on the Udyr, so he commits, but in this longer fight, the numbers will win out, right?
And that was a really sick performance, by the way, on Fly's set. I mean, he basically used every ability perfectly.
Yeah.
To set up both instances of the fight in favor of Afreeca. So say what you want, but he was able to get in a position and set that up. You mentioned frantic. It was, you know, a bit frantic, a little bit desperate from KT. They were forcing, trying to make that play, even with the lack of priority on the bottom side, and it came back to bite them.
You have to cut your losses in that moment. This is not the first time in this series we've seen early game fights for KT forced that are not needed to. This is the earliest of said fights we have seen. You know, last time was around the Herald, after the Herald was taken. But if you do end up giving all that gold over to Varus, it makes the Drake, you know, impossible to take, right? You know, that's taken down, obviously, for Afreeca super early. Now the next Drake fight is going to be very difficult to take. The Rift Herald, you know, you probably can't even really consider that one, sadly, now. This is just too much skirmishing power. Dove is having a good start in this game, though, right? Like, he's having a great lane so far. He's going to get 6 soon. Actually, he's already got it. He's already locked that in. That's the saving grace, arguably, for what will be, in 90 seconds, a big fight for that Herald.
Yeah. And, I mean, you see what happens when they try to trade.
Look at Noah, he's almost dead!
Yeah. The Q is blocked by Lehens as well. Like, I'm a little bit sad that we see such a massive lead this early because we never get to see this lane on an even standpoint.
Yeah, we'll never know what this could have been.
We saw from like levels 1 through 3, and obviously the Lee Sin's going to be denied like, you know, 10, 15 CS and get behind, but like who knows if it's on even standing. Maybe you hit level 6, you get some combos down, you isolate one of the guys and burst them down. It's possible. You can see, you know, maybe some of the idea behind the lane, but we're just not going to get to see it in this game, not yet.
Remember, KT has had really tough opponents, right, to start off this season. Damwon and Gen G, you know, the two really, really big ones they've faced already, and this is one of their weaker opponents now. But because they did end up losing to Gen G, they're actually at a 1-2 scoreline, so we thought the series might be close, but KT have really messed around with a series that's such a shoo-in for them, or should have been if we're really talking about them as a top team. And if they end up messing this up because they decided to play, you know, bot Lee Sin, and they fall down to 1 and 3, the conversation and the hype train kind of just you pull the brakes on it right there, you know? And this feels like a series that KT should not have really had to feel this pressure in. They should not have had to have 2 drafts that were so shaky that you had to pull out the Lee Sin. And like you said, we'll never know what it could have been capable of. We don't even get to have that conversation anymore. Now we're talking about a Rift Herald group where, like, can KT even try to fight this?
Yeah.
Like, not really. Even though, like, they had the paranoia I was talking about, that's all you have.
And then this isn't like a Senna getting free farm in the bottom lane or, you know, or anything like that. It's a Lee Sin. It's not an Ezreal. It's not a traditional AD carry. So it definitely leaves you in kind of an awkward spot. The Rift Herald is taken essentially for free by Dread.
Yeah, Lee Sin's just trying to freeze this wave as best as he can so that when they do return to the lane, he's not going to be putting himself in danger to actually get those last hits. So appreciate that, but I mean, that's just standard. That's what you got to do, because that wave is going to be pretty nasty to CS into this stage. Leo picks up 2 more long swords. So, good luck.
True. No armor built by either player on the bottom side just yet. I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
You would hope.
Yeah, not the case yet. You know, it's not a tanky support that's down there with the Senna. But again, oh man, I was about to say I don't want to harp on this, but you ruined that for me already.
Well, yeah.
With harp in the game.
That's just how it goes.
It's the end of that phrase. Doesn't exist anymore here at the LCK.
Gonna have to give it a tombstone. All right, now this is a very, like, really high risk, I feel like low reward attempt here. They're gonna go for it.
Okay, well, they're just trying to get maybe a summoner here as the Fly is okay. The Paranoid comes out and it's traded for the Flash essentially, so they do in fact get that summoner away from Fly. Able to convert something here on the map is KT.
That Dread was not very nearby. There's a question mark ping tossed onto where he is right now because they know he must have been in the vicinity after that play. He would have rotated in. They're not sure exactly where he is, but that's the scary part of this, right? Especially when Lehens is coming up here. There's no ward on the tri-brush. And like Noah's like, can I even get the CS? Maybe not.
Nice lockdown there. And again, he's just so massively fed that Harp nearly dies in just the trade with the ultimates. Noah is going to hop away.
Like, this is just Dread saying, I'm going to be over here. Lehens took the vision away. You can't see us. Guess what? We have a wave now that you couldn't clear. Your Senna was pushed back, and now it's a ton of extra gold going to the bottom side of the map. Who would have thought? Snowball and Varus this early against the Lee Sin Senna lane. You know, we'll never know. We'll never know what this third game could have looked like if it was a standard game.
Yeah.
And I sadly feel like we'll never know what it looked like if it was going to be a KT win, as it is just looking more and more hopeless by the second year.
Got vision on Senna, as she is finally going to be able to go home. Took quite a while to get there. As, you know, the idea behind it, I suppose, at the end of the day, is that you just have another kind of divey bruiser guy with the Lee Sin who is quite high tier alongside of an AD carry with the fasting Senna. But once you get behind the Varus, it's like, okay, well,
because
good luck to you in the bottom lane.
Because the comp already has such great mobility and dive and really nice CC with the Gnar here, and because Senna obviously allows, you know, you don't have to build support items. In fact, you are not a support really in this game as Lee Sin, even though you have like a little bit of a safeguard you can toss in there. You're able to actually build high impact items and actually get free farm. So it's a smart move for what the game could have been team fight wise, right? And that's what you're saying here too. And
yeah,
it's just so risky and so unpracticed, clearly. But I think we could at this point say, like, you know, this is not something they've really put a lot of thought into.
Yeah, it's just like the idea hypothetically is he's going for the kill here. That's actually the Q landing. Can he get the solo? Yes, he can. Noah, he heard us talking. He's like, yeah, we'll shut you guys up. As here comes the rotation, though, as we're going to have the TP actually coming in here. Noah will get the shield, but that's a lot of damage coming in. Dub trying to jump off the fly here. Doran extremely low on the back side of this. As Dub trying to go 1v3, there is some follow-up, but not quite enough from the side of KT. So Afreeca will be able to take one guy down.
And it's another moment where KT jumped the gun a little bit. Sure, you get the pick. It was a beautiful mechanical play. The Q connects. He's able to jump in there, secure the kill. He went Ignite, you know, so that's the kind of moment you're looking for in lane, right? However, you know, the trade-off is there's a ward up there. There's a teleport coming through. You get outnumbered. You get outplayed. I mean, they have the Abyssal Voyage, so you put yourself in harm's way and the punish comes through. And once again, it's one step forward, two steps back for KT Rolster.
I want to see what happened up here on the top side. Keen just, you know, he held on to his teleport. He's like, yep, it's fine. I can just sit up here and get 2 free plates, essentially. So things going very well for the Gwen up here, although Doran is even on CS.
If you want to pull off a Doran play, too, where you're able to teleport to the back line, as I guess we're going to watch this one more time. So this was actually pretty sick. He comes in, hits Leo there, and then is able to connect the Q after the kick, which is how you do the full combo. So he knows how to play good Lee Sin. Like, that was proven in this moment. Has the Ignite.
This is what I wanted to see, how Doran gets so low. He's just teleporting, assuming that the paranoia is going to cover him, but he doesn't. So he gets into the fight nearly dead. And it's like, oh, well, 0 follow-up for the Nocturne then.
Yeah. It's really well played, actually, from Keen to make sure that, I mean, he was almost able to execute him there.
Yeah.
But he's unable to do so. He even committed the Ignite, I'm pretty sure. But, like, yeah, like when you said when you show up, you don't have any health, so you're practically dead for all intents and purposes. But where I was going to get into with this, too, when you take the Ignite, sure, you have kill pressure as Lee Sin here, but you're never going to have that teleport flank power, which is something that is so important on Lee Sin when you're behind, as Doran has showcased so many times. So I feel like taking this Ignite, especially when you're this far behind, it feels really bad that you don't have anything else you can use, because that Ignite is not going to be very valuable at all later on in the game.
Yeah,
Would have been valuable if you weren't losing lane, so it's a big if, but
that's really where the crux of this lane comes in, right? Because, you know, it's a tumultuous lane, but you can kind of go even 10, 15 CS behind, and then you have kill pressure once you hit level 6.
Yeah.
But again, if you fall behind, you don't really have the kill pressure, so it takes away all the power from the lane, whereas the normal lane with the fasting Senna is just a tank. As he's going in, there's the kick, but again, it's just Devour. As the follow-up will be there, the kick will finally come out and deny some further damage from the side of Leo in the hands.
Gwen's here.
Paranoia, there's a fight actually in the middle as Keen is going for a walk. Actually goes the wrong way, takes forever to get to the fight, but still will be able to take down Dove eventually and trade that one back.
Now this time it's, you know, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, I suppose you could say, but Afreeca still have a massive advantage. This teleport isn't just for this exchange. I mean, he's getting more value out of it because he's got a wave here to push in mid. And Valdez, KT are desperate for any picks they can find. Doran's going to get the turret top side of the map since he didn't have teleport. He couldn't join. At least he's able to get that.
First turret.
Yeah, first
pretty
turret.
Good, actually.
Pretty huge, right? So that's nice. We're going to watch this one more time. Devour is just such a great ability, even when he's rooted.
But then they do line up, and it's like, okay, the kick will get value here.
Yeah, teleport. You know, there's no follow-up teleport here from Doran because he's used his already.
Noah's actually a pretty insanely Sin player. Like,
yeah.
The more and more we watch this, it's just becoming very apparent why they play this lane. Noah's basically like, okay, you're fasting Senna. Let me just go off on the Lee Sin. And now I really want to see this happen again with even lane state.
I mean, suit yourself. I don't know if I ever want to see this happen again, but I like the idea. And like, I don't want to criticize the Ignite pick. I want to make it clear that was not what I meant. It's just that I want to say what he's missing that other Lee Sins would have behind like this, even though he's caught up significantly in gold since he's gotten those picks, is missing because he went for the Ignite, right? So if this was just a top Lee Sin that was like 3-3-0 with these items, you'd be like, well, nice. You know, there's a lot of plays you can make. Side lane a little bit deeper because he has teleport. Look for some flanks, but no, unfortunately, won't have that tool available. So what he offers with his summers is just not the same as what other Lee Sins will have. And mechanically, yeah, he's solid. I mean, he has lined it up. He's proven the guy knows how to Lee Sin, right? And most players who've been around for a long time have somewhat of an understanding, but his seem pretty crisp, right? Like, you know, if he was playing jungle Lee Sin, if there was some weird roll swap that ever happens in the future, I'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, remember that one?
Yeah.
I could trust.
Yeah.
But they're just so far behind in this game. It's not even about the gold. Like, they've evened up the gold in these trades quite well. It's about the 3 Drake advantage. It's about the map control that KT doesn't have and seemingly will never have that I'm more worried about here. As you know, Baron spawns in 2 minutes. We're starting to look for these 5v5 team fights straight up. The items aren't there. Look at Sedan's items, or the lack thereof.
Yeah, it'll take a while for her to get online, as KT are still taking some parts of the map here. They've rotated Dove up to the top side, which is going to leave him pretty vulnerable. Keen is really strong right now. The teleports do come in. The Senna really helping from elsewhere. That's a nice ultimate that does come in. The Paranoia trying to help Doran stay alive, as Set is just so effectively tanky at the end of all of this. Going 2v3 in the middle lane at the same time was Leo in the hands.
Yep. Leo went Dustblade, so he is very formidable if he gets a pick, and he almost did.
Noah was certainly thinking about that, but
a lot of pings coming down from KT. You know, you could see that Dove was calling for assistance. Doran came over, but he loses teleport for it. They're not able to trade back a kill. They still lose the turret, right? All of these things are happening, and then with the 2v3 mid, you're still okay as Afreeca. You know, you didn't lose anything for this. In fact, you're still gaining. You're still pushing. So the game state here, you know, for KT, you can't be trying to trade kills or trying to get 1 kill defensively back. I mean, that means you're playing 1 or 2 steps behind every single move that Afreeca's trying to make. And what I'm trying to say in so many words is I don't think KT can come back in this game. You know, even 3v2 here. It's a Tom Kent, right? The setup here was so smart for Afreeca.
so tanky.
He's so tanky, and Leo does so much damage that if you try to stay, you're gonna lose somebody.
Yeah.
So you have to back off.
And unfortunately at this point, you know, with the stunted bottom lane and the jungle Diana, they don't really have the burst potential just yet. They would have loved to try to isolate the Varus, but Lehens and Leo and their positioning was good enough to keep them safe.
And it looks like, you know, we are seeing a little bit more adaptation here in Korea towards the European style of Gwen build, where you do go for the Nashor's Tooth second. And with the control over the map that Afreeca have and the control they want to keep and that side lane pressure that's so strong against K2, really are going to struggle to rotate around and deal with that pressure. I like the adaptation here from Keen in this game to go for it. You might not have wanted to otherwise, you know, if you were not this far ahead. But given the game state that we're in, it's a super strong choice. The root, like, he doesn't even care. He's not even going to attempt to walk out of it. Lehens is like, yeah, okay, you guys want to fight? Let's go.
Yeah. He's fine. Blank was able to pick up the second Rift Heralds, but there's 4 members of Afreeca, actually 5 of them, as Fly is hanging around on the bottom side here looking for a bit of a flank. They're all here to absorb this pressure, and they will deny any charge from going down. Could have predicted that happening. KT really posturing. I think it looks like they want to go for a fight around this dragon. They don't want to give it away for free. They're looking for any opportunity to deny it.
I mean, KT, this is your last window into this game. If you can win this fight, somehow miraculously, if you have a great Moonfall, maybe, just maybe.
Oh, man. The set is right in your back line, and there's so much follow-up. The Gnar into the wall is pretty good. Can Dorian get any follow-up from his team is the question, but the damage out of Keen is way too much. Fly will survive as well. And now the rest of KT is just on the run. Keen is assassinating. He's hunting people down. And the rest of Afreeca can easily just back off, take the Cloud Soul at 21.5 minutes into this game, incredibly fast, with all the priority they've had on the bottom side of the map.
Yep, that's the Soul. And, I mean, if you look at the map itself, if you zoom out on the mini-map, you know, for KT, when you see this reset come through, like, you can maybe get this outer turret mid, but there's no other objectives to where you feel like, okay, well, yeah, sure, at least we can get one thing back here. Sure, we didn't get the Drake, but, you know, you're playing a losing game. And the tragedy of it all is we didn't have to see this game this way. It didn't have to happen this way, but they decided to go for something crazy. As the engage is just so great. Like, Set is so powerful in this meta. And when you see Doran come through here, because they're so far behind, he just doesn't have the sticking power. And he's the one who got that first turret blood. He's the one who was able to sit on the top side of the map and get some items. Like, he's the actual only player who's playing at par in this game for KT Rolster. And even with Asterix, he can't do anything.
Yeah, and again, there's just the lack of follow-up, you know. It was a good response.
Yeah.
I think the positioning, it was a great engage from Fly, but the positioning from KT was a little bit again, desperate. It was like they were all just filing in one by one, but also sticking together just close enough to get the perfect set ultimate, right? And they all kind of grouped up for it. Blank is going to be hopped upon here by the Udyr, and the follow-up. There's the Chains of Corruption. The damage is insane. But again, Stopwatch is absorbing a lot of this damage, but is there enough follow-up? They're trying to get on top of Leo. They do take the Varus away. Noah is still alive, but here comes Keen, and he is really the final boss of this Afreeca lineup. He's going to assassinate that Senna, as Doran is getting some work in. Noah looking for the assassination on the Lehens.
Keen is like, just let me get on top of him.
Oh, Lehens. That was flashy, you die for it, but that's okay. Here comes Dove, trying to get on top of level 15 Gwen with a lot of items at this point in time. I think he immediately realized, okay, I can't quite do that. They're looking to poke him out and slow them down. Doran is being run down here. He gets hopped upon, and now it might be Dove who bites the bullet for him. As in goes Keen, there's the damage. Looking for it, but he's not going to dive the turret. That's just going to be the end of that.
Keen, you know, with these Nashers.
Or is it?
Here, well, should have been Keen. Wink, wink. But it should be okay. With the Nashor's Tooth, he's a lot more of a powerful bruiser in these extended fights if he can actually get on top of KT Rolster's players. And you can see in some of these moments, if you watch him in this fight, Keen is like really trying to close the distance on a lot of KT's players, but they have so much mobility. And if the Senna was actually in a powerful state, like look at Harp in this game, and look at all the front line that's here with this Lee Sin, for example. If Harp was actually strong in this game, and if he had a stable laning phase, he'd be popping these health bars. He would actually be fine. Look at how difficult it is to get on top of him, but we're just not in that game state.
Noah's all alone. The kick looks cool, but he was isolated there up the lane. You can see that a lot of the KT members are really reaching, trying to take the extra risk to try to pull this game back. But Afreeca staying solid, not making too many mistakes. They're pretty aggressive. They are going to just run at this Baron 4v5, looking for the turn now. But the turn isn't fantastic, actually, from Afreeca. They don't have too much hard lockdown CC, but at least they do get the paranoia out of Dove. And they're going to get ahead onto that Baron once again. Harp trying to get in there, trying to poke him down, looking for any kind of damage, but I think KT, will the boomerang do it? Nope. The reverse boomerang, nice try from Doran. You don't see that every day, but at the end of the day, that's just going to be the Baron 5v4. Afreeca looking to get too far ahead in this game.
We saw one reverse boomerang Rift Herald steal, I think, earlier this year. Can't remember who it was, but it was one of our high.
It's like right in the beginning of spring.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but yeah, unfortunately, like Noah dies early on in this exchange, right? He's not here for the fight, so he goes in here.
Yeah, this
is like, yes, you know how to press the buttons for Lee Sin, but your decision making in this moment is in error, right? You don't have vision. You think you can actually make these plays. You think you're further ahead than you are, but you're not.
Yeah, it was a great bait, and this time around, Doran's going to be the one baited into thinking he could survive. By the way, got the confirmation that it was in fact Doran who did the reverse boomerang steal.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So, makes sense, you know, he's trying to recreate one of his biggest highlights, and unfortunately for him, it's not able to work out. But Afreeca, they're coming in here. They're looking to shut down a team that we were heavily favoring coming into this matchup. But Afreeca is saying, no, that match against Damwon, that's a whole different story. That was a fluke.
Yeah.
We're looking to take this down. We are the better team tonight.
I mean, unfortunately, Harp is just a fairly non-factor champion in this game. He's not able to do damage. He doesn't have any protection. There's no strong front line for him. And because he's behind, he doesn't have the range he should have. He doesn't have the items he should have. And there's no real support champion for him here, right? When you think about Senna, Kench, you know that the Kench is always there for you. So if you had something like a Kench, even if you aren't at this part of the game with a 1-2-3 scoreline and no items, at least you can hit the autos in all those fights and walk forward and feel okay and feel like you did something because you're going to be safe. But you are not safe. Not in this game. Not when Keen could kill you in 1 second. Speaking of which, what? I write the scripts. I am the writer.
What is going on here? It was Wolf all along. Harp's like, yeah, just take me. I've had enough. And unfortunately, it looks like KT will just have enough. They will not get any more of this game. Afreeca will shut them down easily. Harp going for a little walk through the jungle. And with the TP coming into the mid lane, that's going to be Afreeca ending this one. They're looking for the kill on the Dove. And with that exhaust, that should be his death sentence. As nice paranoia, but that's not going to save you. The clean ace will come in here, and the shortest game of the 3 will be game number 3, as Afreeca will shut down KT in a huge victory tonight in this best of 3.
And this will put KT on a 1-3 scoreline. And as much as we could talk about potential for this roster, how much they've improved, how great their bottom side of the map is, this is a loss that will taint them going into this first round robin. Their easiest opponent, arguably of the 4 they've had so far, they stumble.